place for the computer.
Here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Real Women, Real Purpose Talk Show, live in the On Purpose Woman Global Community Facebook group. I'm Catherine Yarbrough, your host today, and I'm one of the two hosts of the Real Women, Real Purpose Talk Show. The other one is Jenny Robertson. I'm a co-leader in the On Purpose Women Global Community and the creator of the Manifesting Clients Academy. And I am here today with author Doris Vilk. She always gets me confused because Doris is her author name. So that's who I'm with today is Doris Vilk. Hey, Doris, how are you?
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Catherine, and all the on-purpose women that are here and guests that are choosing to listen in today with us.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about in just a moment is it spicy romance mystery books and other good stuff. So, okay, hot, get ready to be hot and bothered.
Get
Well,
hot, get your sexy
oh my,
on.
Doris. You're such a hoot. Let me say a little bit about you before we get going, okay? Before you put yourself in handcuffs, because we're on Zoom,
Yeah.
so you can't put me in handcuffs, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
So I just discovered or learned that Doris Vilk was born in Havana, Cuba. Wow. And she has, I mean, seriously, Cuba used to be a place where nobody from the United States lived. So that must be a story. You have Doris has lived in the Bahamas, Italy, and Spain. And obviously she lives here in the United States now. She is a retired family and cosmetics dentist and community service award recipient, but she's written this hot book. Oh my goodness. Well, 3 of them. And she lives in South Florida with her husband. She has a married son and I'm guessing hopefully grandchildren on the way. And she loves the beach.
Oh,
And Doris does these amazing pictures from her home out onto the beach. So if you ever get to friend Doris, you'll get to see those pictures. It's like, oh, how beautiful to live there. So goodness, what happened in your life, Doris, that you got to live in all those different places?
Well, my dad was, we were refugees. My families were first refugees from Eastern Europe during the Holocaust. Ended up in Cuba. Everybody thinks all the refugees got in through Ellis Island, but they turned a lot of the ships away. So immigration was tough even in those days. And a lot of people escaped from Europe to different countries, and a lot of my family ended up in Cuba. So my parents, myself, and one of my sisters are all Cuban. And we ended up coming to the United States through Mexico and Jamaica.
How old were you?
I was like 5 years old.
Did you like escape on a boat or something like that?
We were able to get our visas, but when we left, it was a very hard time because we were supposed to leave earlier when people could still take some jewelry, some money. So like my grandparents, my maternal parents left earlier. But by the time we left, the borders were very closed up. My mom had gotten pregnant with my sister, so that forced the family to have to, redo all the visas and everything. And when we left, it was like what we were wearing and a change of clothes, and that's it.
Do you remember feeling scared? And
oh, it was terrible. I'm still in therapy for that, but
really,
it was very hard time. When you're 5, you kind of old enough to remember like militia and people with guns and a lot of stories. When I've told a lot of people my story, I've been encouraged to write my memoir someday of how I got to where I did. But anyways, my dad was in banking and he got back into banking once we were in the United States again,
And where did you go to first from Cuba? Where did you go?
We went to Mexico.
And then,
Mexico City,
to the
and
United
then to
States.
Jamaica, because we were my sister and I were little and we got very sick. We were used to tropics and Mexico was cold, and you
Really?
had altitude sickness because people don't realize Mexico City is very high up. And we're coming
Wow.
from Cuba, which is, you know, a little bit like Jamaica, like mountains, but Havana's in the flat area by the beaches.
Yeah.
And yeah, so my dad was in banking. He specialized in efficiency, like operations management, setting up new branches and fixing troubled branches. And so we moved around a lot. I grew up in the Bahamas, like 4th through 8th grade. And then my family moved to England, to Italy and Spain. In fact, my dad opened up the first, back then it was Chase Manhattan, not just Chase Bank. So he opened up the first Chase Manhattan in Spain, in Madrid.
Wow. I mean, he must have been something, Doris, to
Yeah,
actually, to
he
be a
was
refugee.
amazing.
Yeah, to be a
Yes,
refugee from Cuba and then get hired by Chase Manhattan and get
yes.
those
He
opportunities in
was
front of him.
unbelievable. He never went to college. Came
Wow.
to military school in the United States for high school, and spoke excellent English without an accent, you
Good
know.
for him. Wow,
And
what a role
yeah,
model for you. Huh.
yeah, he was a great role model. He would not have been happy with me writing these. He would have been happy with me writing, but
But
the
not
sexy part, oh heck
Ooh,
no. Oh heck no, you know?
I don't know. There's probably some part of him that's pretty impressed. I mean, he would want to
He
know
was
that you
quite
know
a
that.
playboy, but he was mostly the conservative banker, which is interesting because here I was, this conservative dentist. And
Yeah.
I had a lot of health problems. I'm a cancer survivor. I developed something called dystonia, which causes cramping in my fingers. And it was really hard for me to stay practicing dentistry. So
I bet.
I was kind of forced into an early retirement, and I was still young at that time. And, so then I developed a lot of anxiety and depression, went to therapy for that. And anyways, I kind of got the help that I needed. So I tell people, if you're
Good for
having
you.
issues, go ahead and get help, because you can get better. You may not be 100% yourself, but you can improve. And I had this time on my hand and this energy, and I didn't know what to do with myself. Towards the end of my dental career, I had cut back because my hand needed the rest to be able to still I was trying to do what I could to keep practicing. And it was when 50 Shades was very popular, and Orange is the New Black was very popular. And so the thought of a prison story with a love, sexy story, it was like the universe was putting that energy out there. My hygienist and I, in fact, Love Arrested, the first book, is dedicated to her. Her name was Sharon. And so my hygienist and I would talk about these sexy books. I read 50 Shades out of curiosity because half my friends loved it, half hated it. And I was very curious about what's in this book. And being a uterine cancer survivor, I wasn't feeling very sexy at the time. So reading that book, even though, there's a lot of debate how well it was written and everything, can't not acknowledge that it isn't a really sexy story. And so I told Sharon, I've had this idea for a romance. It's been in my head for 30 years, since I was in college walking to class, and I would daydream about, this sexy model and actress. She was everything I was not. She was tall, I'm short. She had long, beautiful hair. My hair is usually short and curly like yours, Catherine, but I've got my keratin on and my blow dryer and my highlights and trying, and she could sing. I got kicked out of the choir in 5th grade, and my toddler used to say, "No sing, mommy, no sing." And she could dance, and for a Latin, I'm tush challenged. So, it was a daydream. And so I had this story. I told it to Sharon. like I said, I wasn't working every day. So a few days had passed. I come back to work and Sharon's like, I was thinking about your story, Dora. Again, my doctor name is Dr. Dora Vilk Shapiro. And Sharon's like, that is a great story. I would read that. So I go on a cruise for vacation to try to de-stress, kind of reflect on what I'm going to do with my life. I've wanted to be a dentist since I was 10. I didn't know what I was going to do with myself. Talk about shift change, because I know the group talks a lot about shift change. And this was a life shift change for me. And I just started writing it, and the words just poured out. Like people said, how long did it take to write? I go, well, it took like 2 years to get the story out of here onto pages. I go, but I had so much research to do. I had to find an editor, cover designer, all of that. And before I knew it, I had this book. I go, it took 2 years, but it really took 30 years. That's what I say. And
can I interrupt you for a second? So the
sure.
woman, Susan, the main character, and
Yes.
folks, I have been reading this book. I have been reading Doris Vilk's book, and there's 3 of them. There's a trilogy.
There's 3. There's
one is
this. Yes,
the first one is
called
Love Arrested. Love Arrested. Just let me talk for
Okay,
Doris for a
okay,
second,
sure.
okay? All right, we both can talk, and I'm going to talk now.
Okay.
Folks, get this book. Get this book. If you haven't read it, get it. Doris is a great writer. And let me tell you, my friends, I used to read, I'm a little ashamed to say I haven't been reading as much in the last 5 to 10 years, but before that, I read 3 or 4 books a week. 3 or 4 books a week. I was at the library constantly. I read mysteries, I read science fiction, those were my favorites. But this book, and so I know what a good book is. I know when a book is well written because I've read so much, because there's some stuff out there that's not well written. Doris is a great writer. This is a great story. It's well written. Please go get Doris Vilk's book. Go to her website, dorisvilk.com, correct?
Yes.
Right? And you'll find the page with the 3 of her books, this one. Then once you read it, I know you're going to want the other 2, or go ahead and just order all 3 of them. I mean, what the heck? Just go get her books because you're going to love it. Her main character, Susan. Now, here's my question, Doris.
Okay.
You say you're not a lot like her. And you also said that, you met her in your mind back in college. Now, this whole story, without giving away much of anything, she ends up in jail, which is what arrested.
Which is why the handcuffs.
Yeah, and other things, I'm sure. But did that part of the story come while you were in college, or did that come later? Like was the character what came to you in college, and then the actual what happens to her is what came like when you were on the cruise and all that stuff? After you,
a lot of the character and a lot of what happens to her in the first book was all from college, and then it developed more as I started to research. Did a lot of research. Again, when I was this conservative dentist, and when I was even when I was reading 50 Shades, I didn't know what a lot of that stuff was. And so as you start researching this thing, I'm like, please, somebody clear my phone if I die unexpectedly, because it's got all this stuff on it from all these websites and positions of the month and all this stuff. And so the rest of the stories, obviously, to come up with enough material for 3 books, for a whole trilogy. The rest came later. But the prison story was there when my husband and I binged on Orange is the New Black, which was very popular. He was saying, gee, isn't that a lot like the story you're always telling me? And I go, yeah, like what the heck? Like they stole my idea from my mind. I go, this is, I was like, couldn't understand. And I go, the universe is saying to put this out there,
Well, let me ask you a question. You've written these 3 books and you say it's a trilogy. Is this, since I've only gotten through, I've only enjoyed part have around half of this wonderful Love Arrested, and I'm going to
Yeah.
get your other 2 books. Will I be done with Susan when those 3 books are over, or are you going to write more?
Well, I kind of left it open. And
Ah,
without giving away the ending of, the books
yeah,
do
yeah.
continue. You could kind of read them independently, especially the second book, because the second book was written as if the first book had not been read. And so you
Okay.
could kind of get caught up in what the story is. But without giving like the ending away, it kind of leaves it open, and I'm kind of like waiting for feedback from the fans. Could they see that going forward? Would they want a 4th book to follow her as she gets older into the future? Or would they want maybe a prequel of when she was a young girl and all those things that happened and how she got to where she's a famous actress and ends up in prison? How did her relationships develop to end up in that place in her life? I could write the prequel of it. So, I leave it open.
How do your fans reach you?
Well, they could do it through the website. It has an email. I'm also on a lot of social media. I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, have a YouTube channel. So
Facebook.
yes, and the books. So the website is the best resource, which is www.dorisvilk.com. And that's Vilk as in like milk with a V, Vilk as in vibrant. And from my website, there's also links to the social media pages, but I would love likes, follows, comments. If you,
Website's right here. Website's right there on the
yes,
back
right
page.
on the back of the book. And then once you get involved with me, there's ways to contact me. Then I can reach out to you back. If you join this, there's also a Facebook, a separate Facebook group. And so once people join the Doris Vilk and all that, I can like invite them into the actual group where we can chat and discuss things. And I'd love to hear from the fans. And obviously, if you order the books and read them, leave reviews. Amazon,
Sure.
Goodreads, a lot of times people tell me, when I'll do a book club signing or give a speech, which I am available to do if you're in book clubs and you want to Zoom me in. I've done that. It's been a lot of fun, and the members of the book club love it, and I love it. They're sitting around with their wine or whatever, and then I'm like, they can ask me questions and stuff. It's a lot of fun to do.
Well, let me ask you, so the first book took a few years to get out. Was it the same process with the next 2, or did it
Yeah,
go quicker?
I would say each book took about 2 or 3 years from when I start writing it. I have Victoria Landis, who does the covers for me. She actually edited books 2 and 3. So books 2 and 3 had a different editor. Book 1 was edited by Patricia Nolan. Victoria Landis, who's actually a writer herself, mystery writer. She edited and did the covers. She edited books 2 and 3, did the covers for all 3 books. And then I have Greg, who does my formatting for me. So if you're out there and you're a woman entrepreneur and you've had ideas of writing your own books, I go, yes, you have to come up with the ideas, and you have to be able to edit yourself, because it's got to be pretty. You want a well-written book, and you want to take the reader to feel the senses and the feelings you're doing. You may not be in prison. I've never been to prison. You may not
I was
even
going
be
to
into
ask you.
sex. I'm married to Winnie the Pooh, but a woman needs a little Tigger, so I had to hey, get my sexy on. So even if you're not you want to research what you're doing, and look for the right people that can help you come up with a very polished work of art, whether
Yeah.
it's cover design, or, like book 2 is very sexy. There's
Yeah, that's a nice
there's
cover
ways
too.
that she gets out of prison, but she made a lot of enemies. So how's she going to deal with that? How's she going to get her career back? So how does a love life take place? So that's more or less what Love Attempted is about. And then Love Avenged follows her and the lover into the future, and into other things like Broadway and family drama. And yeah, pretty much, we get to follow along with all her, things that happened to her, the lust, betrayal, passion. But mostly it's about a woman's empowerment. You'll see when you get to the end. In the beginning, it's all about that fall from grace. You're on top of the world. You have everything. You're an actress. You got money. You got the sexy husband. You got a lovely family. And then all of a sudden, it all comes crashing down, and you have to rebuild yourself. Well, guess what? That was Dr. Dora Vilk Shapiro in a way. But I
Oh,
always
isn't
say,
that interesting?
yes. And a lot of the things that happened didn't happen to me, but there was symbolism for things that I did go through.
Yeah.
As someone like my age, in a male career like dentistry, I was, a woman pioneer, and I did get things said to me, and I was abused in my own ways, not
Mhm.
like Susan was, but in my own ways. And some of it is symbolic. And because a lot of people say, who is that person? People that know me go, who is that person who wrote that book? Like, that is so not you. And other people will say, you got
Mhm.
that naughty in you, girlfriend, so you just got to
Oh
check it
my God.
out.
Well, Susan isn't all naughty. It's she also, at least the way I have come to know her, is that she's actually she starts off as a really good, trusting person.
Yes.
And and she's done well for herself, and I
Mhm.
would say that all that's probably true about you. You probably, I mean, my sense of you is you're a good person and you're
Yes,
trusting and you did well
yes,
for yourself.
yes.
And then interestingly enough, things happened health wise that led you down this path of your transformation, which
Mhm,
for her it was people who did something to her
mhm,
and led her down her transformation. For you it was
mhm,
health. I mean, that is kind of fascinating, that similarity.
mhm.
So
And
wow.
really,
All right,
I
go ahead.
was just gonna say, for especially women, we've all had in our lives where our situation may not be the same, but we've all been through a down place, places where people might have thrown us under the bus, where we had to learn to empower ourselves. We had to learn forgiveness. We had to learn to move on. We had to take the negative and turn it into a positive. And so that's something that we can all like use and learn from. And that's what your community that you and Ginny like started with On Purpose Women. It's just incredible. Even if you're semi-retired like I am now, it's just, following the energy is magnetic. It's entertaining, especially in the pandemic. Who doesn't need like to see positivity and positive energy and get inspired, and you may have time to read a book or to take a class, or it's a perfect time to get coaching. I've been following a lot of the other speakers that you've had in this series of yours and through your magazine, and
Mhm.
it's amazing. We need this, especially women, because we're the ones that have to pick up the pieces, and we need you.
Well, I appreciate that, Doris. And what I love about this show, Real Women, Real Purpose Talk Show,
Mhm.
is that we're real women. And I mean, you're a real person. You created this great career as a dentist, then, life happened and you've turned out, to be an amazing author, a great writer, and you're a real person. And you're doing this stuff. I love that because I don't know. I used to think of authors as being some people way out there who, and they're real people. I'm sure even J.K. Rowling is a real person to some people, but to me, like, oh my God. But we are real people, and I appreciate that you have that perspective about this community.
Mhm.
So, well, I just want to know one last question before we begin to wrap up. And you are saying that there is not a fourth book right now being written. So what is your life like? How do you spend your time in semi-retirement if you're not like, are you really not at the computer writing on a regular basis? Or are you just
I
thinking about?
I keep my writing skill current. Like I'm doing, I'm signed up and I'm taking a journaling class. So I journal every day, I write every day. I use Facebook as an exercise for fun. Sometimes people post these quizzes, like, for example, love ya. And I'll be like, I'll write something on that person. So it's like developing character development. Um, Goals, sometimes your community will ask a lot of questions about what are your goals or whatever, and I'll write that. I had a friend who just sent this picture. She was very turned on because her husband was using a power tool to fix a barbecue. Doesn't sound like a sexy thing, but she found it very sexy for her husband to be using a power tool. So I just texted back. I made up a sexy excerpt about how this man was using this power tool, and she imagined those same sexy hands on her the night before and how they would be on her again this evening. And I just wrote this whole paragraph of this sexy scene between her and her husband out of her saying her hubby looks sexy fixing the barbecue. So I would say it's as if I'm in the gym flexing my writing muscles.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Interesting. Well, good for you. I love that. So, folks, please go to dorisvilk.com and go get Love Arrested. Get her other two books too while you're at it. Just get all three because you're going to love reading about Susan. Doris is an excellent writer. Doris, before I wrap everything up, is there anything else one last statement you want to make, and or that's something you want to let people know about?
Well, I just want to say that the books are, yes, they're sexy, yes, they're hot, but there's also a lot about your senses, about nice business quotes in there, believe it or not, and
Oh,
everything.
there
And I would
are.
just say that, oh, no, 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 it's not just you, it's definitely hot in here.
Thank you, Doris, and thank you everyone for joining us. And please comment below about what you love about Doris, and if you've read her books yet, what you love about her books. And it's so fun to read and talk to a real author of a novel. I've talked to other kinds of authors, but I really love this. So
No,
thanks everyone for joining us for this Real Women, Real Purpose talk show live in the On Purpose Woman Global Community Facebook group. Tomorrow, Jenny Robertson is going to be here at 2 p.m. Eastern to talk with Carol Burbank about waking up your creativity, which is what Doris did, which is so cool. I'll be back Monday at 4 Eastern time to interview Claudette Gadsden on how to turn tough conversations into a win-win. For a list of all the July and August Real Women, Real Purpose talk show topics, go to onpurposewomanmagazine.com. So that's onpurposewomanmagazine.com. Open up the current issue and you will find a list. And the ones that have already happened, you're going to find the replays in our YouTube channel. So go to YouTube. I think Doris has got some videos up too, she
Yeah,
said,
so
in
make sure you
YouTube.
subscribe to both YouTube channels. You'll get some good entertainment and good
Cool.
knowledge.
Cool. So on YouTube, go to On Purpose Woman Global Community, subscribe to our channel, and then also go to Doris Vilk's channel and subscribe. And you'll be notified when this one is up for the replay, so you can share it with your friends and say, oh my goodness, I got to know Doris Vilk, the author. You can meet her too. All right, everybody. I'll see you next time.